Hello, and thank you for joining us this evening for this new Parent University. We're just going to wait for a few more people to connect to the webinar, and then we will get started with our presentation. Some people coming on.
Great.
All right, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. Thanks for joining us this evening again. My name is Ann Risso, and I'm part of the Communications Department for Douglas County School District. Welcome to our second Parent University webinar for the school year. And with the help from Skyridge Medical Center, these webinars help to provide relevant and timely content to the community, parents and students. And the topic of tonight's Parent University webinar is Career Pathways, Post-Secondary Readiness, and Concurrent Enrollment. And we are very lucky to have our panelists with us tonight, including Dan McMenemy. He is the Executive Director of Schools, Pathways, Choice, and Alternative Education, and Post-Secondary Readiness Coordinator, Amy Barker. And the timing of this webinar is perfect, as tomorrow evening from 6:30 to 8:30 is the Career Pathways Expo at the Legacy campus. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But for now, I'll take Dan and Amy. They'll take off from here. And a quick note, if time permits, we will also have question and answers after the presentation. So go ahead, Dan and Amy.
And thank you very much. We appreciate the opportunity to meet with folks and share what's going on in our world. I'm Dan McMenemy. I'm the Executive Director of Pathways, Choice, and Alternative Education. And with me tonight is another member of our team. Amy Barker is the Post-Secondary Readiness Coordinator. So, Ann, I don't know if you can, there we go. We actually have a rather large team that delivers this to the district. There's a lot of moving parts here. We're gonna focus primarily on the career and tech education stuff and give you some numbers on what's going on right now. We're really excited to share these numbers with you. We've had some really positive results for the last several years, but it's kind of culminated with the opening of the Legacy campus and the amazing programs that are happening in our schools. So we're going to try to give you a lot of information in a little bit of time, and then we're looking forward to answering questions that you may have.
Next slide. Okay.
Yeah. So we always try to start out our work with what's the mission of the school district. And I think anybody that's been in Douglas County for a while know that what we try to do is provide an educational foundation that allows each student to reach his or her individual potential. That is a challenge in a school district of 900 square miles and approximately 65,000 kids. But we know that this mission, as we strive for that, we feel that if we can do this for students, this gives them the best opportunity for their future. These board ends, the Board of Education ends around academic excellence, have actually been around for quite some time. And really, there's some really key items in here that we think about as we're looking for additional programming, or we're trying to measure how our programs are doing. You know, things like building on strengths, equitable opportunities to acquire knowledge, ensuring performance at the higher level of individual performance. I mean, you can read through all those bold statements, and really, we can point to several places in our district where these things are happening. But nowhere is it as consistent as what happens in our career and tech ed programming and our concurrent enrollment programming. And for me, I think part of that is around that people choose to be a part of those programs. They identify something that they're passionate about, and then they're engaged with a highly competent and engaging teacher, and they see the benefit of what comes on the other end of that. And that's to be prepared for whatever their future is. So why does this matter? You know, I think that that's a question that we're always trying to answer as educators. You know, what happens at the end of time for students that participate in these programs? And I think down at the bottom is something that we're really proud of as Douglas County Schools. You know, in 21-22, we had 97.8% of the kids that were a CTE concentrator. graduated from our schools. This last year, it went to 98%. So we're doing a really nice job of preparing students for what their next steps are. And I think that number for me, again, says that kids are really engaged in the content that they're involved with, and that they have a really clear picture of what it is they want to do next. And they see how what they're doing now is going to make a difference for them in the future. We also try to focus on some of the other items in here, all students, high quality education, focusing on post-graduation success. Those are all really concepts that we really try to strive for, to make sure that we know what we're doing is connected to the bigger world. I'm going to turn it over to Amy now to talk a little bit about what is a CTE program.
All right, thank you. So as a post-secondary readiness coordinator, I oversee all the CTE programs, or career and technical education programs, concurrent enrollment, and work-based learning. I'm going to try to break this down and speak to explaining what a CTE program is and what that really means, knowing that we might have parents and students of all different kinds of ages, and really even kind of explain that what is post-secondary readiness, because some people, when I say my title, they kind of go, huh. So really our whole intent is to give students the exploration, the exposure, and the opportunity to explore what pathways are right for them after high school, post-secondary. So when they graduate secondary or graduate high school, they're kind of looking at, where am I going beyond? So in a nutshell, that's what that means. So a CTE program is a career and technical education program. It's not just a cool class that is being offered at one of the schools, but it's actually a designation that means that this particular program meets state and national standards. They're standards set to access funding. They're standards set that are intended to allow us to maintain a certain level of quality for our programs. We have to submit certain data points, reporting, and really kind of upholding these standards for our students, excuse me. And then also to make sure that we are providing access to programs that are meaningful and not just things that, again, sounded fun, sounded cool, and that are the next big thing, or, a next class to come along. So when we start with the program, kind of starting with that green line up there, a state-approved program begins really with a credentialed teacher. And when we talk about a CTE credentialed teacher, it is a special credential that is given through the state. They have to meet criteria for each and every pathway that is set up through CDE. It's also overseen by the CTE governing board. And the teachers have to meet this credential to show that they have adequate content knowledge for the pathway in the program that they're going to be teaching in. The desire is also to bring in industry experience. So it's not just a teacher who said, hey, I think I want to teach us now. This sounds cool. It's someone who's actually coming in from industry, is the hope, and bringing that experience to the program to give students relevant and meaningful experiences for this pathway, preparing them for the career in the future. Once we have a credentialed teacher, then there's some other pieces that create what is a program. And we submit all of this information to the state for review. We can't get a program approved, though, if we don't have a teacher in place. So the next piece, as we call it, is a program of study. It's a clear progression of, sorry.
No, my mistake.
So it's a clear progression of courses that kind of lead a student from, let's say, freshman year for some programs all the way to a senior year, or some might be a 2-year program. Many of the programs that are at Legacy are going to be for juniors and seniors, and they're a 2-year progression. Other high schools, of the 9 comprehensive high schools, may have 4-year programs that are available. And that program of study just needs to ensure that students have a place to go, and they're starting from one level and they're progressing and they're gaining skills and applying those as they go through each level. So then each program has to have an advisory committee. So CTE teachers are also charged with kind of creating this environment where they're connected to industry, they're getting input from industry partners, and they're ensuring that their program is rigorous, it's relevant, and it's responsive to industry. So that's another piece that is part of a CTE program, is that requirement. So then we go to the next part, which is the Career and Tech Student Organization. Sorry, I'm still on the same slide. A CTSO is what we call those. If you are a parent that has a high schooler, you maybe have heard things like DECA or FFA or FBLA. Those are all student organizations where our CTE program offers these opportunities for students to compete in competitions, to apply their skills. They get to connect with industry partners as judges. They create a network of students who are interested in a similar pathway, and it really is another opportunity for them to gain leadership skills and kind of explore this pathway and see if it's the right fit for them. Then the icing on the cake for a CTE program, and it is a requirement for every program to offer work-based learning experiences. And those are opportunities where students can say, okay, I've been taking these courses. I'm kind of feeling like I'm interested in this pathway. Now I really want to see what it's like to have a day in the life or a few weeks in the life of this job, this pathway, and make sure that I'm making the right decision for my future. So we have students that can go into community-based internships and can go work with an industry partner for a period of time during the semester, and they take a course that also offers them credit while they're doing that. But the biggest piece is for students to be able to answer that question, is this right for me? And sometimes the answer is no, but it's better to find that out in high school than to wait until you're in college and you've accumulated debt and lots of credits and then you have to make a change. So all of these different elements are really bring together and define a career and technical education program. I think now we're ready.
Okay.
So one of the other things, kind of switching gears, so a CTE program can have a concurrent enrollment class in it. And we're going to talk a little bit about concurrent enrollment and some of the opportunities that are available for students. But a piece in concurrent enrollment means that you earn college credit and high school credit at the same time. One of our programs that's available under the umbrella of concurrent enrollment is called Ascent. So the Ascent program is a program developed by the state of Colorado, and it's actually accelerating students through concurrent enrollment. They got creative with that acronym. And the state said, we want to give students an opportunity to access college credit and give them the opportunity to kind of have this tuition off their plate. So it's a unique program where you are a graduate, you have to meet a certain number of requirements. And it's basically you've met graduation, you have 9 post-secondary credit hours on your transcript that you've earned. And then it's kind of geared towards community college. However, there are some universities that we are partnering with that have agreed to participate. So how it works is a student graduates, but yet their diploma is held by the district and they maintain status as a 5th-year student. As a 5th-year student, then the district receives some funding for them and we are able to pay tuition costs. So if we look at the red where it says tuition costs, that means that we take that money that we're still receiving for the student and we pay tuition. And then the student would pay for fees and books and supplies. But it's a savings for the family and for the student. They're going to get to go take some college courses on the college campus and not have to pay that tuition. Part of the piece that for the district, we want to make sure they are full-time students in the fall and in the spring to make sure that we're covering those tuition costs and they maintain a full-time status. That's part of our reporting piece as well. And as I mentioned, we have several community, it's kind of geared towards community college, but we have other opportunities with trade schools and we have some 4-year universities who have also agreed to participate in Ascent, and our students can attend MSU, and we have some students going to Colorado Mountain College and some different institutions right now as Ascent students. So as I mentioned, the student is able to apply for Ascent with their counselor. We look at how many students we have available. It used to be that we were only given 1 or 2 spots for this, but the state changed the legislation. And so now it's wide open. And if students meet the criteria and the qualifications, they can be an Ascent student for that 5th year. And then when they complete their Ascent year, they will get their diploma and we will have paid tuition for 1 year of college courses. Anything?
I was just going to say, we're constantly moving the bar on those schools that we have agreements with. I mean, you know, we are pursuing agreements with virtually any school in Colorado. And so we're going to continue to increase that list. The community colleges are pretty easy. This legislation was built for them, but trying to get into the MSUs and the UNCs and the CSUs, that's where we're really going to try to get into, because we know that would make a huge difference for a lot of our families if we could get in there.
Next slide.
Okay, so we're really excited to share some of the numbers of the current state of the programs in our district and how many students we have accessing current technical education and concurrent enrollment. So for this school year, for 23-24, we currently have 70 career and technical education programs, and that means we have a wide variety of pathways that students can pursue. And we're continuing to grow those all the time. In addition to the Legacy campus opening up, we also have other pathways that are opening at our different comprehensive high schools, and always looking at what are students requesting and what is that need. As I mentioned about a CTE program, it needs to be in an area that is high demand, high skill, and high wage. So we look at those factors when we're planning a pathway to make sure they're meeting that criteria. We have about 14,629 students or seats in CTE courses that are being taken. So that is a duplication possibly of students, because they could be taking more than one class, but that tells you the number of students that are engaging in those programs across the district. Last year, we had 717 industry certifications that were earned by students. And that means they have that competitive advantage, or some folks call it currency, to walk outside of high school and possibly be hired or demonstrate a level of skill that makes them employable. And we have work-based learning opportunities. They're constantly growing, and we have about 25% increase in industry partners and students who are accessing work-based learning throughout every pathway. Then for concurrent enrollment, we have 179 different courses that are available across the district. We have about 10,381 seats in those concurrent enrollment classes taken by students. So we have a large number. We're the largest in the state for concurrent enrollment and students that are accessing college credit during high school, and we are paying the tuition. So it's a really huge savings. As you can see, that's saving families about $6 million in tuition by students accessing concurrent enrollment. And then, as I mentioned with Ascent, we are able to grow this each year since some changes at the state level. So we went from having 2 students to having 33 last year, or 34. And this year we're at about 57. So sorry, 33 students last year, 57 this year. So we're really excited about the opportunities this is opening up for students to access college courses and save tuition.
The other thing to add to this is these numbers are also in a situation where we have a little bit of a declining enrollment in our high schools. So you think about growing programs in a declining enrollment, there are several things that go along with, what could we attribute that to? Some of you parents may have heard of this last year. There was a big conversation about trying to get all of the high schools to a similar schedule. Well, I think that movement to that schedule had a big impact on students being able to access these programs in other schools. They didn't have to miss multiple periods in their home school because it was relatively aligned. Obviously, opening the Legacy campus attributes for some of that, but there's only about 300 to 350 kids at the Legacy campus. So a jump of 2,200 students in concurrent enrollment is not fully attributed to the Legacy campus. That means that great things are happening in our other buildings. One of the things we were able to do that we talked about last year that was a dream was to be able to provide transportation to the Legacy campus. And so from each of our home high schools, there is transportation provided to the morning session and the afternoon session for students. That's made a huge difference for some of our families. Obviously, tonight is an example of better communication and outreach. We're constantly trying to find ways to share the great programs that happen in our schools and at the Legacy campus, and try to find ways to give people information. So we have a CTE CE guidebook that we're going to be moving to a second edition here pretty quick. We'll post that on the website. That has all the programs across our district: AP, IB, all the career and tech ed stuff, all the concurrent enrollment stuff. It's broken out by school, broken out by region. So if you live by Legend High School, you can see what's offered at Chaparral and Ponderosa. If you live at Rock Canyon, you can see what's on Highlands Ranch. But really tried to make it a useful document for families to think about, where are the opportunities for my student? Obviously, between buildings to serve students and schedules, we've done a lot with tours for our teachers. So trying to inform our counselors and teachers of what's available so that they can provide good information to our families. And then obviously the expo tomorrow night is one of our efforts to do that. And we're going to continue to do the tours at the Legacy campus. And I know each high school principal would love to talk to parents about the unique programming they have in their building. I think the other thing that's happened is there's a conversation now around it's not college or career, it's college and career. And in the past, in Douglas County, I was a high school principal for several years. It was really about trying to get kids to college. And I think everybody now realizes that's one outcome, but that's a very expensive outcome. That there may be other things that students may want to do before that or during that, right? So you get some of these other manners of currency and can be employed. Sometimes those employers will pay the college costs for students to go to college. It's really just about providing opportunities for students, whatever it is they want to do beyond high school. So military, go directly into the workforce, go to college, all those things are outcomes. We're just focused on trying to provide the tools for them to be able to access whatever's next. And then I think there's been a lot of chatter in the community about the win-win for our system and community. So you heard about the tuition savings and the stackable programming. It really makes sense. It's not like one-off classes where, wow, I took this computer course from ACC. What does that get you? We really tried to package it so there's a series of classes. If you take them, it could lead to an AA degree or a BA or certifications. We've really tried very hard to be a school district and not a district of schools. And what I mean by that is really unify the district and have people focused on best outcomes for students. And that is a challenge, right? I was a high school principal too, very competitive. You always want your school to be the best. But realizing that we can't provide all these programs in every school, but if a neighboring school has it and my students can access that, that's a win for all of us. And then in the end, all of this is really about students. What can we do to provide opportunities for kids to be successful in their future? That's really what we're focused on. Next slide, please. So, last year we did this webinar and we were talking about a dream of this place over at the Wildlife. And some of you may have had the opportunity to go there. Well, that dream has turned out, I think, better than any of us could have imagined. There's some amazing programming going on there that is taking about 350 kids right now and really building some momentum to what we can do in the future. It's allowing our students at our high schools to come to some great programming. It's just a totally different environment there. I mean, kids walk through those gates to go into the school and they're going to work. And it's really amazing to see them like living what it is they want to be. And if you get a chance, you should go watch the board meeting that we just had. There's a really good segment in there where there's students that are talking about concurrent or career and tech ed programming across the district. Some of the kids are at Legacy, some of the kids are at the cosmetology program at Highlands Ranch, but to hear from them what an impact it's making is really powerful. So it's the last board meeting, it's the presentation around career and tech ed, and the kids are doing some presentations within that. At the Legacy campus, there's actually 9 programs. Each one of those programs has both high school and college credit available, and it's state-of-the-art materials, equipment. We have wonderful instructors. Some have been teachers for a long time and they're experts. Some of them are directly from the industry and they're experts. And so it's really amazing programming that happens there. Advanced robotics, architecture, aviation, building controls, CNA, certified nurses, culinary and hospitality, EMT, future educators, and secure network. I think the thing that I would want to know as a parent is what is it connected to? Where's my kid going to do anything with this? Right? So it's one thing to teach a class and have it be like it's a big concept, and it's another thing to actually have it be tied to credit through Arapahoe Community College or Metro State and have a kid begin to build a transcript. That really makes that Ascent program attractive in my mind, because a student already has multiple credits. It's conceivable they could walk away after that Ascent year with an AA degree with a guaranteed transfer to CU Boulder or CSU in whatever discipline they want to be in. So these are amazing programs. We would invite you to come out and take a look at those during the day, take people on tours all the time to see kids in action. It's really, really cool. Next slide. But I think the one that all of us are the most proud about is the Bridge program. And if you're not familiar with the Bridge program, it's for students 18 to 21 who need a little extra help to get to their next place that they're going to be. These amazing students and staff are actually running the cafe at the Wildlife Center. So if you've ever been to the Wildlife Center, as you're walking through the main gate, there's a thing that looks like a Panera or a Starbucks right there. Well, these students are actually running that. So they're learning life skills. They're learning, how to do change, how to clean, how to make it a really great environment. And they have 2 full-time staff members that work with them. But this is a really extremely cool program that we are so proud of. I listed some celebrations on there. They're learning in a real world setting, meet and exceed our expectations, new challenges, problem solving, customer service, having fun, growing into employable, happy, healthy young adults. And we do have an amazing staff. So I would invite you to come over. I think it's open from 7:30 to 1 o'clock. If you have a business meeting up in the north end of Parker up by Lone Tree, swing by, bring your person by, and you guys sit down and have a cup of coffee and see what's going on there. But very cool program. So we also wanted to give you some more highlights of what's happening, at least in our first couple months there. There's some great pictures of people in action and the opening of it. Phase 1 construction is like 99% finished. There are 36 future educator students in field placement in elementary schools. So we are really going after trying to grow our own with our educators. We had culinary students work at the Denver Food and Wine Festival. 2 students' college tuitions were scholarship through a private donor. Cafe is open and running by the DCSD Bridge program. Hosts numerous conferences. It's a great meeting space. We have a full-time event coordinator with staff that we're renting the facility out in addition to doing the school stuff, and done several state, national events hosted by our teams. So a lot of really cool things happening at this community hub is really what I would term this to be. Next slide. And the highlights go on. I'll give you a moment to go ahead and take a look through those while I catch my breath. You can see here some of the pictures of things going on there. The transportation, you can see there's a Thunder Ridge High School bus that goes from Thunder Ridge to there. That's been a really great win. You can see some of the checks that our staff are getting for the work that they're doing in the community. And the community has really jumped in and been behind this, from the county commissioners to the various chambers, to all the business people we go out and meet with on a regular basis. Everyone is really excited about what's going on here. Next slide, please. Yep. So we wanted to take a moment to share a day in the life of a student. This was a presentation that was made by one of our by our district staff, our district communication folks, and it's a very cool video. So we'll run this for a couple minutes.
Volume here.
No sound.
I'm Paula. I come from Chaparral High School. I'm a junior, and I am part of the future education course.
It's Wednesday morning, and here we are out in front of Legacy Campus.
It's like 8 o'clock, and I'm going to my first class, which is lifespan development. How's it going over here, guys?
It is a central offering of career and technical education courses through 9 different pathways.
Architecture and engineering, building controls technology, advanced robotics,
In culinary and hospitality.
EMT fundamentals,
I'm in the aviation class.
secure network technologies class.
The teacher educator pathway. I am in the CNA class at Legacy.
Where are those opportunities that will have the greatest industry demand? And that's where our 9 pathways were selected.
Alternator switch verified alarm.
Our students stay enrolled in their home high schools. They come to us for a portion of their week each week.
I come up to Legacy every Monday and Wednesday, and then we have a remote session on Friday.
As soon as this class is done, I'll go back to Vista for the rest of my classes for the day.
They're really excited about the opportunity to come from all of these different home high school environments and engage in this programming together.
It's just a great community, just like I would have at my home school.
So everybody kind of seems like their ideas align and everybody kind of just wants to do the same thing.
Students carry themselves differently when they come into this big, beautiful house.
This is going to be my career and I'm very grateful that I can get an environment like this. You're shorting yourself 6 ounces of product. Does that make sense?
Half of our staff are veteran teachers, and then half of our instructors come from industry.
I really like our teacher, Mrs. Fowler.
Mr. Smith is an amazing teacher. We're learning baseline electrical engineering.
We learn everything from basic resuscitation, human anatomy.
We've built walls and we're building circuits currently, like in our lab. Here you go. At the beginning, I thought that it would be like a lot of lecture, but it's not. It's so hands-on.
It makes it feel real and it makes it feel like it's actually going to give me an impactful experience. It's definitely a college level course, which is really incredible. Obviously, I want to go to college someday.
All 9 of our pathways have college credits available to the students involved.
For this, it's like free, get my certification, and then while other people are paying for their college debt, I'm having a job with no debt at all.
So they are paying no tuition in our concurrent enrollment courses. In our dual enrollment courses, they are paying tuition at a really well negotiated rate.
I did not expect this in high school at all. No, I was expecting to have to wait till after high school and do a program afterwards.
It's just a super cool opportunity for everybody involved.
The future of Legacy Campus is impact. This is a 20,000 square foot location where we will build out, renovate, and house our trades program. It will be bond dependent. And so when we next pass a bond in Douglas County, we will bring about trades programming that will broaden the scope of the students that we're attracting here to Legacy Campus and provide even further opportunities for career and technical education and concurrent enrollment.
Legacy Campus is really nice because I'm getting to experiment with what my future career could be, and I really like it.
I just feel like I'm getting the best out of my education here.
When I watched that video, I think that's exactly what we wanted to see happen. And I'm just really proud of us coming together as a community to make this happen for our students. I did want to talk a little bit about some future Douglas County plans. You heard Dr. Kaur talk about the possibility of passing a bond. If that happens, we'll have an auto tech program in Highlands Ranch somewhere as well. We know that's a high demand program. We currently have 2, one at Douglas County High School, one at Ponderosa, but we know that we need a third. We have enough students to support that. We'll have a behavioral health CTE program. That's been something that our students have talked about. And we have staff members that are prepared to try to put that together. Not sure where that program is going to be yet. Probably will not be at Legacy, but it'll be one in our neighborhood high schools. Talked about an Air Force JROTC program at Chaparral High School. We're in conversations with the Air Force right now about making that happen. That's a need that's been identified. I'm currently talking with ACC and CSU. Some of you that are familiar with Castle Rock, you know the Sturm campus down by the hospital. They're really interested in creating this aerospace pathway. And what do we need to do to make that happen? So it's going to be similar to what you heard tonight with some junior and senior level classes, and how can we articulate that into a clear pathway for students. Obviously going to continue to enhance our CT offerings and be accessible for all students. Creating greater access, visibility, and ease of the selection through Infinite Campus. If you're a parent that has had a student in these programs before, you know that you've had to go to 2 different places to try to request this. We got some fantastic news today working with our Infinite Campus folks in the district that we're going to be able to integrate that. And so what it'll look like for a student is sitting at their home high school, when they're requesting courses for their home high school, they'll also have the ability to request these courses. Now, a request is different than enrollment. It means that you'll be put into the pool to be considered, but we want to make sure that we have a level playing field across the district. So we'll get all the requests together and then we'll process those like we have in the past, but it won't be Google Sheets and it won't be touched by 15 people and with the possibility of dropping things. Amy talked about the Ascent expansion. Again, we think that some of these programs play right into that. We have kids, a lot of kids, that have the 9 credit hours of college work already, that stepping into this and doing that for a year may be a really cool option for families. And then we're going to expand programs at Legacy. Some of those possibilities include, you heard Dr. Kaur talk about those, P-Tech, welding, electrical, HVAC, big build construction, advanced manufacturing, and continue the TREP with future educator. Those are all things that do not currently exist in our other buildings. And that was one of the focuses of Legacy, is not take programming out of buildings, but build on programming in buildings. Identify programs that our kids want. And if we don't have enough seats, some of those are housed at Legacy, like the culinary arts program. But the majority of the programs that we have at Legacy are new programs that are different than our high schools, because we're really proud of what's going on in our high schools too. So with that, I think that we are at the end of our presentation and we're ready to take some questions.
Yeah, definitely. Real quickly, I'd like to mention, as Dan and Amy have already said, the Career Pathways Expo is tomorrow from 6:30 to 8:30 at the Legacy campus. And man, prepare to be just get your mind blown. Everything they're doing is just so exciting, and it makes you think, oh my gosh, wish we had this when I was in high school. So
and I'll just add one little piece. So the students that you saw in the video at Legacy campus, the idea of the the Pathways Expo is that you can hear from students their experience from career and tech programs, concurrent enrollment, work-based learning. We have students as the focus to share about their experiences. And so it's a really cool opportunity to walk around and talk to students and hear from them directly.
It is really a hyped up science fair is what it is. I mean, that's what I think it is. That's what it reminds me of.
Yeah, it's just very, very exciting and fun. Okay, so we do have several questions. The first is, okay, let's start with a question from Amy. She asked, will our kids still have a graduation with their friends, or would they have to forego walking across the stage in exchange for a year of tuition?
I'll answer that one. So sorry, I probably didn't get all the details in there for the Ascent program, but yes, students meet graduation requirements. They that is one of the qualifying factors, and they can walk and participate in all graduation activities. The only thing that is not going to happen is they're not going to get the actual copy of their diploma. And that is a state restriction on the program because it allows us to pay their tuition, and it has to do with some other pieces for qualifications. So the only piece they don't get is diploma, but they can participate in all the other graduation activities. Absolutely.
Great. Thanks, Amy. Next question. Do EDCSD students qualify for these programs?
The answer to that one is yes, absolutely. In fact, we're really proud that we have kids from every single one of our comprehensive high schools, both of our alternative schools, and I believe we do have at least one student from EDCSD, have some students from Plum Creek. So all of our students that are in-district students, this program is free to them because it was provided by the 2018 bond. So the staffing is paid for through the bond and mill, and the facility was paid for through the bond and mill. So because of that, this is free for the students in our 9 comprehensive high schools, our alternative ed schools, EDCSD, Plum Creek. We do charge tuition for this program to our charter schools and to out-of-district students, and to any homeschool students that are not at Cloverleaf. So we have a process by which we reach an agreement with neighboring school districts and with our charter schools. And the reason is because the charter schools get 100% of their funding, and they get a piece of the bond and a piece of the mill. So they need to help carry the weight of what the cost of this is. So, but yes, EDCSD students absolutely qualify for these programs.
Oh, that's exciting. Okay, next question. Some of the pathways require that you start in your junior year. What happens if you are already a current junior?
Well, I think that kind of could be an opportunity, as we mentioned earlier, if you were, let's say, interested in pursuing a pathway and you're starting as a senior, you didn't get to come in as a junior. Sometimes we do try to provide some preference to seniors because we know they're, kind of at the end of their high school career. And then if the program proceeds beyond just the 1 year, then the student could come back and possibly access the program as an Ascent student. So for example, the cosmetology program at Highlands Ranch High School, it is a 2-year program for students to complete and be able to take their state boards to actually enter the field of cosmetology. And so initially the program was starting with seniors, and then they had to go to another district for this year 2. Once we were able to get both teachers in place, now students can access it as a junior, or they can start as a senior with year 1, and then year 2 continue as an Ascent student, and the tuition is paid for by Douglas County.
Oh, that's great. Okay, another question. Where can we access a full list of all of the available CTE Ascent options and courses?
Question, Erica. We are in the process of updating a career and tech ed guidebook that we started last year that has a complete list of all AP, all IB or International Baccalaureate classes, all the career tech ed courses, all the concurrent enrollment courses, broken down by school and by region. So if you think of Castle Rock, you think of Douglas County High School in Castleview, you're able to see what's available in the near neighborhood. And then you can also see if you drive through Highlands Ranch to go to work and you want to have your student access a program up there, you can see that as well. The booklet will be ready mid-November, and students will have access to it, and we'll also blast it out on the district website, on Amy's post-secondary workforce website. We're going to make sure that it's out there in the community. Probably won't make hard copies. It's about 25 pages, but it's an amazing, colorful document that our communications department put together. The answer to the other question, are these options IEP friendly? Yes. We do have full-time staff at the building that serve IEPs, and they work in tandem with the home high school to try to make sure that IEP goals are met while they're at the legacy campus. The other thing is, in just tracking the numbers, we know that right now the demographic information and the IEP student information, very similar to the demographics in any one of our high schools or across the district, are the same numbers that are reflected at the legacy campus and in our CTE programming. So we're trying really hard to make sure that we understand the students that are able to access these programs and remove as many barriers as we can.
Great answer. And as far as the program too, I can, once it is complete, I can post it to the parent university website under this particular webinar. And any additional resources I'm happy to place on the website as well. So it's pretty comprehensive. Okay.
She had another question too about options in fashion design. Amy, I know you know off the top of your head where fashion design lives in our district.
Yes, it does. So we have several high schools actually that are offering a fashion design program. I'm not sure what part of the district you're in, but Chaparral High School has fashion design, Highlands Ranch, Mountain Vista, and Thunder Ridge. Off the top of my head. Hopefully I got all of them. So your student would be able to look into those programs there. If they're not at one of those schools, then in high school, they can go through that process that Dan talked about, where they can request fashion design at another high school and travel to a program. And there's some great opportunities. I will brag on Chaparral just a little bit because they have a fashion designer and an interior designer who came in from industry and is teaching that program over there, and they're doing some great things.
Wow. So exciting. I think about, oh my gosh, if I was that age, what would I be taking? But a little bit of everything, I think.
And I also, if I can say one more thing, just because as a parent, and I think I always want to kind of make sure that we address, like, how do you find out some more information, or where's the place to tell your student to start? And my best advice would be to start with your high school counselor. Those conversations about what do you want to do, what are your plans, what pathways are you looking at? We heard that from the students that shared at the board meeting, how powerful those conversations are. So, and the counselors, we try to make sure that they know what pathways are available across the district, and they can really kind of help them through that process. So I would say if you have a high school student, have them talk to their counselor, and that's kind of a good starting point for any of these opportunities.
Well, let's see if we have any more questions coming in. I think that might be all covered. I'll see if we have any additional questions, and I'm not seeing any. So, oh, here we go. When do you register for next year's program?
Yeah, so Victoria, it is dependent upon what high school your student is, but in general, the window for making requests for this is the month of January. So what schools do is they have a couple weeks where they release information to students, and then some of them have a paper process, some of them have them do it right off of the computer with your login to Infinite Campus. But the early to late January is the regular window. Now, if you're at Thunder Ridge, they do it a little bit differently, and they're starting, I think they said today, in 2 weeks. So we're not going to have the integrated part of this yet in terms of being able to, if you're at Thunder Ridge, you're not going to be able to request this in 2 weeks. We're just not there yet. However, we can have them be able to make those requests later on in the window. So we don't do anything with any requests until February, middle part of February, so that everybody has a fair chance to put their requests in where they want to go. What the Infinite Campus piece will do is that it will make students make a choice. In years past, we've had kids that have said, hey, I want to put my name in on these 4 programs, and then they get approved to be in 2 of the 4 programs, and really they only end up in 1 of them. So it ends up creating a circus for us in the springtime. So we are going to ask that people say, hey, here's my #1 priority. Just like if I was signing up for classes out of high school, here's my #1 priority, and here's some alternates. The next question was around class sizes, very similar to our high schools. Depends on what the class is, but in general, 25 to 30 students. Now, in some of the programs where safety is a little bit, like if you're in a chemistry class at a science at a high school, you're not going to have 30 kids in that chemistry class. Probably you don't have enough lab setups. That's the same in these programs. It depends with safety. It also depends with the equipment that we have. And so, but in general, 25 to 30 students.
And looks like we have another question about how approval process works for being accepted in programs.
I can take that one. So each of the different pathways and specific programs kind of has their own process. They are pretty similar, but they have a process that they work through. So for example, fire science at Rock Canyon, they have certain things that they ask students to do. One of them is to come to an open house to make sure that they see what the classroom looks like, the equipment they'll be working with, what is it like to put on the bunker gear and all those things. EMT programs, they kind of have similar things to attend an open house. Cosmetology is the same way. And then there's some other programs like auto and some of the construction programs that just have an application. Legacy Campus, their programs all have an application, and they ask for students to kind of explain, what is this? Your interest in the pathway might be a counselor recommendation. They take applications from the students, they evaluate those, and then they make decisions. It is a program-based decision. It's nothing done centrally by the district, but it's based on what they see as viable interest and qualifications for the students. And then they will accept students into the program based on the numbers available.
Would say we've tried very hard to take away some of those artificial barriers, like have to have a 3.0 GPA or have to be previously enrolled in Classroom X. I mean, we've tried to remove as many of those as we could. Some of those are our university partners have requirements for specific programs, but we try to make that really clear in the course request process so that everybody knows here's what's going to be expected if I'm going to move on in this. So make the request. And then there'll be a connection back to say, okay, great, we love that you made the request. Now here's what else we need for backup information to fully consider you for the program. In a lot of our programs, they're not full yet. So they're going to take everybody that they can. And that's really what we want to do is fill up the programs. In some of them, it becomes more of a lottery type situation because we have 200 applicants for 125 slots. So decisions have to be made. In that case, we try to balance the number of people coming from different schools. So for instance, cosmetology has a huge number of students that want to be there. What we don't want to do is have it just be kids from 2 or 3 schools. We want to try and give every school an opportunity for at least some love and getting people there. It's tomorrow night for students too, or just parents. It's for everybody. Last year, we had about 550 people there. I think that the room that we're going to be in to start has a little bit bigger capacity than that. Parking is a little bit of a challenge. But we're going to spread things out. We learned some things last year about spreading people out for the going and looking at things portion of the meeting. But we would love to see everybody that wants to be there, be there.
Looks like we have a question too about the aviation class and if it is popular.
I think it's popular. I know I don't have exact numbers of how many students they had apply, but I believe they have a pretty good size of students in there. And again, equipment, they want to make sure they have the right opportunity for students to be able to access all of the simulation computers and things like that. And I'll also kind of talk about cosmetology because this kind of echoes back to what Dan was saying about the process for approval and application. A piece I've heard from schools and from counselors is to make sure that if your student is asked to write a statement of interest or kind of tell like why they're interested in the pathway, just make sure that they follow up on that and then they take it seriously because they really want to hear from the students, what does this mean to you and why are you interested? So that is one piece that I've heard is pretty key in some of those more competitive programs. And cosmetology is of high interest. And as far as expansion, I think, Dan, if you want to.
I mean, obviously, we know where the high interest programs are, and we're doing everything we can to see what options we have. You know, for instance, if there's a school that has a high interest program and they have declining enrollment, that gives us an opportunity to capture some other classrooms for use for some of these programs. So that'll be a consideration as we move forward. I think everybody knows that there's declining enrollment on Highlands Ranch because people aren't moving. And so there's going to be some options there for looking at opportunities. I think the other thing that we'll try to do with that one in particular is the same thing we're doing with auto is there another school that we could put it in that would allow for us to flatten out everybody having to come to Highlands Ranch or Highlands Ranch High School? You know, so is there a place in Castle Rock or is there a place in Parker where we could have a cosmetology program? But absolutely want to have the programs that the kids want us to have. And so we take a look at that and see if there's ways we can leverage the money we have to get there. The other thing I'd say about the aviation class is, yeah, it's a popular class. If you go by there, it's full the days that it's available. But we have a couple different ways to mitigate that if there's more students that want to take it. First of all, there is also an aviation drone program at Highlands Ranch High School. So students that are more interested in that pathway, that would be an option. The aviation is a pilot program at our Legacy campus, but we could provide more instructors. We could open up more sections, and have fully use the facility. It's not fully used right now. Because we don't have enough instructor to do that. But we could, moving forward, hire more people to teach the same class. It's the same notion as when we've built high schools and grown into them, is you start out with programming, you see what the kids want to do, and you start adding those programs, and you cut the other programs that aren't necessarily kid-driven.
These are such great questions. I think that we'll see if any more questions come in. As a parent of a sophomore, I'm learning so much this evening and I'm excited to learn more.
I'll throw out one other little nugget. If families and students are interested in seeing some other videos of CTE programs, if you visit the Douglas County School District YouTube channel, there are videos from the fire science program. There's a cosmetology video. There's several different videos that kind of capture some other programs. We just didn't have the opportunity to share all of them.
And once again, on the Parent University website, I will try and link as many of those recordings on the website for people to view. And looks like we have a last question. Are there any options of using the new school next to SHAP as a site for programs?
So this is the other part of my job. I'm in charge of all the alternative ed programs, and that program is actually called VALE. The Venture Entrepreneurship Leadership Academy. I got the letters back, so it's VALE. Anyway, that currently has the ability to house 120 kids. They started out with freshmen and sophomores, and so they're going to grow into that program. But a part of their program is going to be some CTE programming around entrepreneurship and some business type classes. So there is going to be some CTE program in there, but it's going to be specific to VALE. And so there won't be room to do some of the other things that we're doing at the Legacy campus at this point. But there's a lot of space still left at the Legacy campus, believe it or not.
Mhm.
Yeah, great
And-
question about getting more info on Vail. If you go to the district website and under where it says schools, there's a pull down menu and there is a specific site for Vail. That's been really well done site that will give you more information. The other thing you can do is contact them directly. The phone number should be there, and I'm sure Leanne would be more than happy to talk with you. She will also be tomorrow night. She'll be at the expo, and she has a little portion. She's going to talk about what they've done in the last year with Vail. Again, another thing. It was a dream last year, and now it's a reality. And she has some great stuff to share.
And I think we are just about out of time, so that might be our last question, unless anyone has any last second ideas. Yep, looks like we're gonna wrap it up. So for anyone who has attended this evening, this particular recording will be sent directly to your email that you registered for, so you can review it. And will also be placed on our Parent University website as well, along with any other additional resources related to this webinar. And thank you so much, Dan and Amy, for so much exciting information, and also to everyone who attended this evening. And we have our next Parent University happening on November 29th for the topic of the importance of literacy in child development. So look for that on any of our district social media, emails, websites, and we will get some more information out to our great community. So thank you so much for attending this evening. Hope everybody learned as much as I did. Oh my gosh. And please feel free to send an email directly to me if you have additional questions, and I'll see if I can get you answers. So until then, thanks again. Oh, nice. Dan and Amy. And I hope everybody has a wonderful time at the expo tomorrow night. Have a good night, and thank you.